The world is such a mess right now. What are we supposed to do about it? Well, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but this is an answers-free shed. There will be no answers being served today. Not from her, not from me. However, I think it's good to know in this world whether you are a questions person or an answers person, as long as you're not being silent and not joining in the conversation. And I, for one, am a questions person. So I have some questions for you so you can find your own answer to that conundrum. Now, this isn't a sales pitch because, quite simply, I'm about to give you the information for free. But in my book, Halfass Human, How to Live Better Without Burning Out, which is secretly, partly a climate crisis book, but don't tell the people who order the books for the bookshops, for goodness sake. Don't you recognise a good smuggler when you see one? At the end of this book, I have a chapter called What to Whole Arse. Is this whole book just an excuse for me to be able to say the word arse in numerous professional emails? Partly yes, but I'm just a questions person. I can't give you a fully fledged answer on that. And in What to Whole Arse, I talk about how, just like with personal care, with personal self-improvement, we are often given a magic formula that realistically couldn't apply to everybody, even if we tried. There is no magic ingredient for solving whatever this is. Wafts hand at news timeline. And I know that you already know that you could protest. Perhaps you already have. Perhaps you've written to your MP, which is something that I talk about all the time on my Instagram account and have given you numerous different templates to do so. Perhaps you're giving money or organising or all of those things that already have a lot of resources and material about on the internet. I would, of course, condone you doing those things. I'm trying to do some of those things. But beyond that, there is something that you could be doing that I believe is as effective, if not more effective, than those things. And that is the thing that only you can do. And since I can't reach into the camera and say hi and ask you all about your life, you're on your own, kid. You always have been. As the great Taylor Swift once said. However, I'm not just going to leave you alone on that note. In the book, I have this Venn diagram that is inspired by an amazing episode of a podcast called How to Save a Planet that I will link below. And I unpack what those three categories in the Venn diagram that they've given you mean for me. The three categories are, what are you good at? So that could be very literal. What field did you train in? What industry are you a part of? Do you already have some kind of sway in your field for some kind of reason, whether that's experience-based, identity-based, or just position-based, like you happen to be in a very interesting position in your industry. Sometimes just being in an industry gives you a unique position. For example, if I wrote to one of my old employers right now, let's say Penguin Random House, and I said, I think you should be serving only vegan food in the canteens, they'd be like, who are you? But if I was still an employee there, and even if I got some of my employee friends to join in with me and I said, I think we should be serving only vegan food in the canteens and here's why, or at least I think we should be expanding our options, they'd be much more incentivized to listen to me. The second category is, what is the work that needs doing? You could go on the internet to see all of the gaps, all of the bloody spaces there are, all the things that aren't being done, but you could also just go outside, see all the ways that there aren't communal spaces, see all the pathways that haven't been built for pedestrians to use, turn up to some of those meetings that MPs hold and go, what's getting in the way of you not doing something about this? Can I get that thing out of your way, maybe? Go to the pub and see what your friends are moaning about. Like, what is not being done? Like, why, they're just like, why isn't this thing in place? Be the person who asks why that thing isn't in place. And thirdly, the most important ingredient, what brings you joy? At the end of the day, the most effective action isn't something that you can do once, like set it and forget it. It's something you can repeatedly do until you're annoying. And what do you enjoy being annoying at? I email my MP quite a lot. And if he was an ex-boyfriend, there'd be a cease and desist. But unfortunately, he is actually my employee and he has to at least listen to what I have to say. I think joy can be misconstrued as something that's just like, what would you do as a hobby or what do you find relaxing? But if you're anything like me, and I think most of the people in the world are, there is a kind of sick enjoyment into doing something difficult or trying to solve a problem or being in some way stubborn. And if you find joy in that, there's a place in the revolution for you. The revolution will not be televised, but it also won't be perfectly organised. So you answer all of those 3 questions and you draw a Venn diagram and you think what would sit in the middle of that Venn diagram. Like what brings you joy, and you can sustain doing over a long period of time. So also what your energy levels are and what your resources are, what you're good at, whether that's like a genuine talent or if it is just something you've been trained in, something you know about, an area that you know about, an experience that you know about, and what is needed. Where are the gaps? Is there something in the middle of that Venn diagram? And luckily for you, because I encourage people to be half-ass humans, it could only fit 2 of those categories. I'm not actually looking for the centre of that Venn diagram. I would actually take something that brings you joy and is needed, and you can be a little bit pants at it. I would take something that you're good at and brings you joy, and then you look for the place where that is needed later. Just start doing it and see how it affects people and what difference you can make, and see if you can make it more useful as you go. I would also take, well, I don't know, would I advise you doing something that you're good at, what is needed, but doesn't bring you joy? Yes, in small bursts, as long as you also plan for the joy as a side order, something to rest, something to recuperate so you don't burn yourself out. Yes, I would. And if you go, Lena, I don't have any unique position in life. I don't have any expertise. I'm not in an industry. I would also say, what are you close to? Who in your life would only listen to you? Are you the favourite grandchild of a grandparent who never writes therapy and maybe votes away that you think is unhelpful for the future? Do you buy a shit ton of Freddo bars? Are you Cadbury's Freddo's #1 customer? And are you willing to pull the plug on your support if they don't make their chocolate fair trade? Are you willing to meet other people who also like Freddo's and rally around with them? That's a skill, baby. That's a skill. Passion is a skill sometimes. If you are nerdy about something, if you care about something, I think that is skillful. I've started to be in the Swiftie universe. You acquire skills as you go as a Swiftie. You get really good at numerology. And like I said, if you don't know what work needs doing, like what needs fixing or where to start, look at somebody who's almost doing something good or trying to do something good or going in the direction, and just walk alongside them for a little bit, either mentally or physically, if they'll let you, and ask them what's in their way. How could they be doing more? And how could you stop the thing that's stopping them? It doesn't need to be particularly inspirational or like a lightning bolt moment. It could be little small things. Well, I would do more door knocking, but I've got a 5-year-old that's really into Pokemon and needs somebody to play Pokemon with them for 2 hours while I go door knocking. Do it. You don't need to be the person knocking on doors. You could be the person arguing over the powers of Pikachu versus Charmander and actually still be part of the revolution. And when it comes to what brings you joy, like I said, joy is a movable feast. Joy and satisfaction cross over a lot. I think we talk about joy and we think we mean elation or excitement, but joy can also just be pushing in the final piece in a jigsaw puzzle and going, got it. That kind of satisfaction from staying put and digging in. It's also important to remember, and I talk about this throughout the book, that you really don't need to pick the right seat straight away. It is so much better to pick the wrong seat but actually be seated and realise why it's the wrong seat and move seats next time the music starts again, rather than be the only one standing without a seat in this life that is essentially a game of musical chairs. Apart from, in this game, it's really silly to lose because there are way more chairs than there are people playing the game. We do not need it to be perfect. We just need to start. Start where we are, start imperfectly, start now. Now would be good, actually. I don't need to open my news app to know that. Something that I have realised as I have started to go down this path of like, maybe the world is awful, but maybe it doesn't need to be, is that nobody is going to hire you to solve this. There is no body of people dealing out jobs and tasks and to-do lists. Those people aren't coming. However, it's too late for me. I've been institutionalized. I need that framework. It's familiar. It's comforting. It helps me understand what to do. And therefore, I have mentally, symbolically, privately hired myself in a fictional department of something I'm worrying about. For example, something that I do worry about is the climate crisis. So if there was a organisation that was managing slowing down the whole of the climate crisis and was there to delegate and employ everybody involved. I work in the comms department. I'm in the communications department of that organisation, and my team is the morale and marketing team. Like, that's what I'm doing. I'm trying to get people to talk about it. I'm trying to insert it into conversations. That is what marketing is. I am trying to get it to pop up in places where it should be, that it's not. I'm trying to get people to feel comfortable with it so they can start interacting with it more. And I know where I am in that funnel. I am not managing the tip of the funnel where people actually start taking the specific action that they should be doing. I am not in policy. I am not an academic. I am not a politician. But I might be the person, should I be so lucky, to encounter the person when they're a little bit higher up that funnel, when they're not sure yet what they're going to train as, or they're thinking about becoming an MP and they're not sure. They've been buying fast fashion their whole life and they don't really know how to not. They can't open their news app without wanting to cry but aren't really sure where to start. And I've also noticed consistently that morale is low. So my other job is keep morale high, not artificially so, not with lying or omitting things, but based on the logical possibilities that I can see coming in the future. And those possibilities are aplenty. Thank you so much for watching this video. It won't surprise you that it's not sponsored, but if there's anybody to thank, it's the Gumption Club. They support me on Patreon, so I take as few sponsorships as possible, and I don't need to have a video like this sponsored because, I don't know, I think that would have been kind of weird. Don't you? If you would like to listen to the first hour of Halfass Human for free, I'll leave the links below on how to do that. That's literally just on YouTube, so you can do that if you'd like. But most importantly, I would love to hear in the comments unusual things that you have been doing, actions that other people around you have been taking that have given you hope, or just generally any resources or misconceptions you had about how to try and start fixing some of the things that are happening in our news app without burning out or absolutely losing our minds. Thank you so much for watching. Frogs Bug out.